In my last video, I talked about how getting your exposures right in camera is traditionally the goal. But given the state of current post-production both in technology and technique, it isn't as crucial as it once was. I extend this philosophy to the content of the image as well. I'm not going to change the mood of a photograph or create a moment where one didn't exist, but if there's an aspect to the image that could use improvement by simply removing something non-essential, more often than not, it's far easier to do it as a retouching technique rather than moving everything around when you're on site and people are waiting on you. Let's talk about it. There's always been an aspect of retouching that goes along with professional photography. To the degree that you can control what's in a portrait or other general compositional elements, if there's a trash can way in the background of the park you brought a couple to for their engagement session, for example, physically moving it is considerably more time-consuming and more of a hassle than simply cloning it out later. If you're in a public space or even during a wedding reception, there are likely to be other people around and they might make their way into the background of your photos. I'm no stranger to gently and politely asking strangers if we can utilize a space they might be sitting in so we can make some photos of this happy couple. I've never had anyone push back on that. It's likely just part of the social contract that if you look like you know what you're doing and they're supposed to be there, and this seems like a legitimate endeavor, people will defer to your professionalism. It's not like we're asking people to move so we can break out into dance and make a TikTok. That, I'm confident, would yield a different result. But if someone is a little further back and they're enjoying their day, I know I can, with very little effort, simply remove them from the photo. Compositionally, I'm also thinking about cigarette butts that people casually discard and you later find on the ground around your couple. Similarly, branches from trees might be poking out from someone's head, or power lines that cut through an otherwise perfect set of clouds or a colorful sunset. You can position people so these objects don't intersect them, but if you have an otherwise nice background, you may give yourself over to the idea that you're going to have a little retouching to do. The clone tool and healing brush tool in Photoshop were my go-to options for correcting such things. Occasionally, I would need to match color by changing the blend mode of a brush or the layer itself when painting in a visual match. Now, with AI-based retouching tools like the Remove tool and Generative Fill, not only has this retouching gotten faster and easier, but it's practically trivial to make some of these changes. Exit signs in the backgrounds of reception photos are a personal pet peeve. I've spent years trying to hide them behind people's heads during parent dances and reception dancing photos. Retouching them out was occasionally difficult, but it was more often than not just time-consuming, especially if I wanted to make the wall look like the sign was never there. With these newer tools, I can simply loosely encircle the exit sign with the lasso tool, click Generative Fill, and Photoshop will automatically replace the wall, including any texture or wallpaper, and adjust the color and tonal values so you would never know there was ever anything there other than what you're looking at after the correction. I try to get photos of reception rooms before the guests come in. People spend time and money to make the place look nice, so it bears having nice photographs made of it. There are times when the only opportunity I have to do so is when servers are still setting things up. I can typically wait until just before the room is opened up to guests as they make their way in from the cocktail hour, but if there are any last-minute goings-on, I can trivially replace servers and other distractions from what can easily be a nice photo that shows the effort that went into the room. Sometimes my second or assistant will be in the background of a ceremony or reception. I used to go out of my way to adjust my position to hide them behind other people, or sometimes just wait until they're out of the frame. If I was actively shooting while they were there, I knew some retouching was going to be in my future. Again, the new tools in Photoshop and Lightroom make it nearly trivial to vanish them from existence like one of the darker Doctor Who episodes. Try as I might, when doing formals, there will be at least one person with eyeglasses in which you can see the reflection of my lights. That was always a pain to deal with. In a studio environment with headshots, for example, I can adjust the height and angle of my lighting. But if you're in a tighter spot at a wedding, there's sometimes only so much you can do, especially if you need to get them done pretty quickly. Rather than continually make adjustments and make people wait, I can just shoot knowing I can easily remove that reflection and no one will ever be the wiser. Here in New England, in the warmer months, portraits and formals are often done outdoors, and with that comes wind. I've seen some hairstylists use enough hairspray to make the 80s jealous, and that hair does not move. Usually, though, people have a lighter touch and stray hairs can't be helped. Removing them from across people's faces while leaving the underlying details alone was something I tended to find challenging. The Remove tool in Photoshop is like magic. I just paint over the hair, and when I let go, it's simply gone. I've had to do this over someone's lips or even over someone's eye, and the AI, I assume it's AI because what isn't right now, fills in the underlying details. By way of an example, here's a portrait I made at a very recent wedding. I liked the green of the bushes, which I thought would set the couple apart from the rest of the frame visually. Above those bushes, you can see a building in the distance, which adds some visual layering interest. You can see there are all kinds of issues on the ground. There are sticks and stones and missing bricks along the path. There were some bare spots in the foliage of the bush, and I didn't like how the bush kind of ended on the right-hand side of the frame. Retouching these kinds of things traditionally would have taken me a bit of time. With the tools that are available to me now, this whole thing took about 15 minutes, including retouching clothing and a little skin softening. That's not so bad as a one-off image, but when you have 6 or so that need this kind of TLC, a remove tool with generative AI is in Lightroom now, so doing retouching like this there, where the editing is non-destructive and you can go back as many times as you want to adjust it, is a great option. That said, I still find it easier and quicker to do this kind of retouching in Photoshop compared to Lightroom. Lightroom is just too processor intensive, even on an M2 Max Studio. Not that anyone from Adobe is watching my videos, but if word were to get back to them that their code could be a little more efficient, I wouldn't be opposed to it. As I mentioned previously, getting it right in camera is a valuable skill. The advancement in post-production tools means that we no longer have to rely solely on meticulous in-the-moment adjustments to achieve a polished result. It's about being efficient and creative, allowing us to focus on capturing genuine moments and getting the job done, rather than worrying about every detail that can easily be refined later. This new suite of tools makes it possible to deliver considered images without the added time of on-site perfectionism, letting us concentrate on what really matters, which is telling compelling stories. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your taking the time to listen. If you like what you heard in this video, please like and subscribe. What are some examples from your experience taking a photo where you knew you could easily adjust something later? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos like this and hear more stories, check out this other one I made for you. This is Ask a Wedding Photographer. I'm Seth Kaye, and I'm here to help.